The government's social media ban for people under 16 will take effect in 1 month from today, which is appropriate because it appears to have been drafted in about 1 month. And to be honest, the government's social media ban is about as well thought out as the government's energy plan and the government's immigration plan and the government's housing plan, which is to say it hasn't been thought out at all. Now, I don't doubt the government's good intentions. Every parent knows that social media can be harmful to children. I just doubt their competence, especially when they're already admitting, before the law even starts, that it's going to be, well, a mess.
We don't argue that these laws will be perfect in their implementation.
Well, then why don't you argue for getting them right in the first place?
We know this law will not be perfect, but it is too important not to have a crack.
Communications Minister Anika Wells is going to have a crack. You have a crack at baking a cake. You have a crack at learning the ukulele. You don't have a crack at implementing laws that affect freedoms, privacy, business and parenting, to name just a few things that will be impacted by this law. Now, if you're going to create a law as significant as this, it might be a good idea to work out the detail before you implement it. But with this government, it's a case of ready, fire, and then if they get around to it, they might take aim. Just 30 days out from this ban coming into effect, we still don't know which sites young people will and will not be allowed to access. The list of sites affected was changed as recently as a few days ago, and the Communications Minister has said the list will continue to evolve. And then there's the question of how this ban will work. No one really knows because the government has left it up to tech companies, so no one knows, including the government. Will people need to supply a government-issued digital ID to access sites? Well, there's no definitive answer on that either. And if we have to supply a digital ID, where will the information be stored? No one knows. Have a listen to the PM again.
We don't argue that these laws will be perfect in their implementation. We do argue very strongly, though, that this is the Government of Australia setting down what we expect to happen, including reminding social media companies that they have a social responsibility and that they need to be conscious about their social licence, like other businesses.
Translation: we don't really know how this works, but please clap. Rather than deal with pesky details, the Prime Minister today went for emotion.
This is a reform that has come from the bottom up. It has been driven largely by parents who'd lost their young sons and daughters. It is inspirational, the fact that parents have taken what is often a devastating personal tragedy and channeled that trauma into helping others and making sure that other parents and siblings don't go through what their tragic experience has been.
Okay, now I get that. I really do get that. But the devastation of a small number of people is not necessarily justification for national laws affecting every person in the country. Neither is it an excuse to implement laws that the government admits in advance are going to be problematic. You make laws with clear-eyed reason, not with misty-eyed sentiment. Here's some more of the PM today.
This is about letting kids be kids. It's also about empowering parents to be able to have those discussions with their children.
I'm not sure I know of any parent who needs Anthony Albanese to empower them to have discussions with their own child. The PM says some silly things, but that's a contender for a gold medal. It got sillier.
It's been driven by young people themselves. People like young Flossie, who came here, a 12-year-old from Tasmania just last week, who's run a campaign with her peers, saying what they could do rather than spending time on their devices, playing sport, learning a musical instrument, reading, engaging with each other and building friendships on a face-to-face basis.
I get it. I'm a parent, and I absolutely agree with Flossie that kids are better off playing outside than sitting in a dark bedroom on a device. So guess what I did, PM? Being the parent of my kids, I parented my kids. But more to the point, anecdotal Tasmanian tween activism is not a regulatory impact statement. Anika Wells couldn't answer questions precisely either. So she stuck to those motherhood statements that politicians love so much, statements that mean absolutely nothing, but that sound nice and that generally satisfy an incurious media pack.
Our social media laws are not a cure, but they are a treatment plan.
Now, if you can explain what that means, please apply immediately to the Department of Communications because they need your help.
We want children to have their childhood and we want parents to have peace of mind.
Lovely. Well, if you want children to have their childhood, just a question. Any chance you might start with the gender ideology being pumped into classrooms before worrying about Instagram? We're banning social media while sending kids to schools where they're told they might be in the wrong body. Compared to that, well, Facebook is practically wholesome. Finally, Anika Wells closed with a line so poetic, so empty, it could be printed on a scented candle at Kmart.
This reform will not just change a law, it will change a generation.
Change a generation. You don't even know how to change the parental settings on your kid's phone. 30 days out, the government doesn't know what's banned, how it works, or how it will be enforced. Classic Canberra. Overestimating their importance, underestimating the details, and mistaking warm fuzzies for good policy. Or, as they said in the press of today, we had a crack.